afternoon, educators. Welcome to Education Going Digital webinar series presented by Mentari Group and Asta Ilmu Sukses. Now, we are still waiting for the other participants to join our room. Selamat siang dan selamat datang Bapak Ibu yang baru saja bergabung bersama kami. Selamat datang di Education Going Digital Webinar Series. Dan sekarang kita masih menunggu peserta lainnya untuk bergabung bersama kita di ruang Zoom meeting. Going Digital Webinar Series presented by Mentari Group and Asta Ilmu Sukses. Now, we are still waiting for the other participants to join our room. baru saja bergabung bersama kita, selamat datang di Education Going Digital Webinar Series. Dan hari ini atau sekarang ini kita masih menunggu peserta lainnya untuk bergabung bersama kita. Dan sesi akan dimulai pada pukul 13:30. Good afternoon, educators. Welcome to Education Going Digital Webinar Series presented by Mentari Group and Asta Ilmu Sukses. While waiting for the other participants to join our room, please kindly watch some videos from Mentari Group. Enjoy the video.
Betapa pentingnya guru. Guru adalah pengaruh utama untuk generasi muda. Guru mampu mengubah generasi muda Indonesia. Maukah kamu mengambil peran itu? Mengambil peran penting membangun generasi muda, generasi bangsa. Negara memanggilmu. Jawab panggilan itu.
Now we are going to play Mentari Group March atau Mars Mentari Group. Mars ini sangat menggambarkan apa yang Mentari Group percaya, kerjakan, dan tentunya hidupi setiap hari. Kami berharap melalui Mars ini, Bapak Ibu dapat lebih mengenal Mentari Group. Mari kita dengarkan bersama Mars Mentari Group.
Insan mentari, hai ini waktumu mengabdi bangsa lewat pendidikan. Berangkat dari visi misi luhur, kami datang untuk membangun negeri, berani bermimpi dan terus berkreasi, mau dan sanggup menjadi yang terbaik, cakap cepat cerdas selain itu adalah kami, berdarah terbaik itulah nafas kami, untuk Indonesia kami berkarya, bangun pendidikan, majukan bangsa.
Terima kasih. Good afternoon, educators. Welcome to Education Going Digital webinar series presented by Mentari Group and Asta Ilmu Sukses. This program is created to be a platform for educators across Indonesia to share and grow together. And today we are having the fourth webinar of Education Going Digital series, and the agenda will cover the topic Running a Skill-Focused Online English Program for Adult Learners, learning from South Korea's experience. And for 2 hours ahead, me, Ocha, will lead this agenda. Ladies and gentlemen, the participants registered in this webinar are about 230 participants from 167 institutions, universities, schools, or even language center. The participants are educators all across Indonesia. That's wonderful, luar biasa sekali ya Bapak Ibu. Dan yang lebih luar biasanya lagi, trainer kita hari ini, Mr. John Edwards, seorang warga negara UK, dan sekarang sedang berada di Korea Selatan dan hadir bersama kita. Sungguh bersyukur sekali karena teknologi dapat mempersatukan kita semua hari ini. And before we start our agenda, let me inform you of some regulations for our webinar. The first one is, during the agenda, participants' microphone will be off or muted. And then we will have 2 sessions of Q&A. It's in the middle of the sharing session and also at the end of the session. And if you have any question, you may use the raise hand feature in the participant column. Jadi apabila Bapak Ibu memiliki pertanyaan, di sesi Q&A nanti bisa menggunakan fitur raise hand yang ada pada bagian partisipan di bagian bawah ya Bapak Ibu. And then during the Q&A sessions, I will choose 2 lucky people for each session to deliver their question to our trainer. The chosen participants will have their microphone unmuted. Ladies and gentlemen, before we start our agenda, I would like to invite Mr. Tri Turturi as Chief Operating Officer of Mentari Group to deliver opening remarks. Please welcome Mr. Tri Turturi.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Ocha. Very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to once again have you all to join the webinar for today. As has been mentioned by the MC, that this is going to be the final round of webinar. I think, I'm familiar with some names joining the webinar this afternoon. I believe that some of you had also joined the previous sessions of the webinars. So last week, I think, or about 2 weeks ago, we started with the webinars specifically targeted to the pre-primary teachers, for kindergarten teachers. Then we also did the webinar for high school teachers. Last Monday, we did organize for the private language schools. And finally today, we're gonna end up, the final round of the webinar. And today, we're going to talk to the teachers, mainly taking care of the adult learners. To some of you that are still very new with Mentari, I mean, for your information, since 2001, we have been working with more than 6,000 educational institutions from, Sabang till Merauke. And we have very regular communication and meetings to many of them. And what we understand from the previous discussion we had, mainly, related to the distance learning program that those schools and institutions are forced to do since March 2020. We understand, that many of our teachers and schools or even universities, some of them, are not really prepared to anticipate, the distance learning program that they are now expected to deliver, to the learners. That's the reason why from Mentari Group, since, we are very much concerned for meeting, what the customers really require in terms of the support from our side. So we try to talk to our partners, and we finally are glad, to have Compass Publishing as one of the key partners that we are working with. I think, given their experience in providing the online English support to institutions in South Korea, so we thought that it's going to be good to learn from the experience of the online English courses happening in South Korea that probably institutions in Indonesia could learn from and replicate. So today's session, we hope that, it's going to give you some new insights and perspectives on how we from Mentari Group, with the support, from our partner Compass Publishing, could give you some sort of solutions that hopefully, you can consider to help you continue to deliver the good quality English classes to your learners, despite the fact that now, you have to do it, in online environment rather than, a face-to-face classroom that, we usually do before the pandemic. So once again, on behalf of Mentari Group, as the Chief Operating Officer, I'm really hoping that you can enjoy the session today. And I also like to thank, our speaker today, Mr. John Edwards, sitting in South Korea, thanks to technology. He could help us, with this session, which I believe is going to be enriching and insightful for the teachers to learn from. So thank you very much. And now I'm handing over back, to Ms. Ocha to continue, with the main agenda. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tri, for the opening remarks. Dear educators, without any further ado, let's start our session by watching our trainer's video profile. Educators, please welcome Mr. John Edwards.
Hello, everyone. Hi from South Korea. It's my pleasure to be here with you today. I hope everybody gets something useful out of our presentation today. And I'll be having two Q&A sessions, so I really look forward to hearing your questions. And if you have any insights that you've gained from your experience teaching online, I'm sure everyone would be very happy to hear them, including myself. So I look forward to chatting with you in the Q&A sessions, and let's begin. Let me just share my screen. Can everybody see my screen okay?
Yes.
Okay. So as has been mentioned, the presentation is going to be on online English programs for adult learners. We're going to be talking specifically about adult learners today. A lot of the same principles that we've talked about in the last few sessions will apply for this situation as well. But I'll try to give a little bit of insight into teaching that's specifically for teaching adults online. So let me first start by greeting everyone. Salamat siang, Bapak dan Ibu Guru.
Thank you, Mr. John. Selamat siang.
I've been practicing. Hopefully it was understandable. Let me start by giving you the agenda for the presentation today. So I'm going to introduce our company, give you a short 5-minute introduction about what we do and our history. I'm going to be talking about online ELT courses in general and some of the things that you need to consider when you're planning or operating an online ELT course. Then we'll talk about some tips and tricks for online teaching. And then we'll go through digital solutions from Compass Publishing. I'm going to be talking about 2 today. One is called ClassBox and the other one is called BigBox. Then we're going to be talking about some series from our company, Blueprint, and then 3 other series that are suitable for university and adult learners. We'll be having 2 Q&A sessions, one about the halfway mark and then one at the end. So first, let me start with a brief introduction about our company. We are based in Seoul, South Korea. And we've been operating for a little over 20 years. We started in 1999. We started as a ELT materials developer and publisher. That means that we make books for teachers of English. So we started by making print products, and we have now, over the years, we've added more and more titles to our catalog so that now we have a full spectrum of products from kindergarten all the way up to adult level. And that includes course books. We have course books for all age groups. And we have skill books like reading and listening and writing, speaking books. We have a wide range of readers, about 700 different kinds of readers in different series. We also have test prep books. They focus on the ETS tests. That means TOEIC and TOEFL. We also have ESP books for tourism industry and hospitality and healthcare. So nowadays we're selling our products all around the world. We sell them to about 40 countries, a little more than 40 countries around the world. So that means I'm lucky to do, usually I do a lot of traveling. Unfortunately, not within the last 6 months, but hopefully that will change. In the last approximately 5 years, we've been gradually transitioning to doing more and more edutech products. First, we started making blended products that would accompany our print products. So they were sort of made to augment our print products. But in the last 3 years, we've been making some pure digital solutions, and I'm going to be talking about those with you a little bit today. So I'll start by asking you this question. Maybe some of you feel very nostalgic about your classroom. So do you miss your classroom? I guess a lot of us, the reason we enjoy being teachers is because we have so much interaction with our students, and we enjoy, seeing them develop their skills and interacting with them. And, unfortunately, because of the COVID-19 situation, all of that has changed. And we are now in the new normal, which means we are interacting with our devices more than with our students. And maybe it feels very, very confusing and a lot of us are very lost. I don't think any of us, when we first became teachers, we were expecting to be teaching online as much as we are. So we're being kind of forced into this situation. If you're anything like me, if you've been teaching for a long time, it's quite you feel sort of like a fish out of water, and we have to adjust very quickly. So hopefully some of the things we talk about today can help. The good thing is, the fortunate thing is that most of our students, especially young adult students, they have grown up with digital devices. They're very tech savvy and digitally literate, so they're able to adapt very quickly to this kind of new situation. They feel very comfortable. Actually, it's their preferred means of communicating and accessing content and using entertainment as well. So, we can rely on our students to be able to adjust quickly. One factor with adult learners is that some of our adult learners are much older. So, some of the ones that are older, like in their 40s, 50s, 60s, they may have a harder time to adjust. So even though we can rely on our learners to adjust fairly easily, the problem is that we're being kind of forced into this situation very suddenly and very quickly. So we don't really have time to adapt to this new paradigm. So a lot of administrators, a lot of teachers are trying to fit the old ways of educating into this new situation. So they're doing the same kind of planning, the same kind of methods, and using the same kind of materials that they have been. But how do you want me to change it? So a lot of them are using the same kind of materials and the same curriculum and the same pacing. So, the reason that they're doing that is because we haven't really had time to adapt. Just give me one moment. I'm going to adjust my screen. Just hold on one second. You have to reshare. Okay, sorry about that. Technical difficulties. So as I was saying, a lot of educators, a lot of program administrators are trying to use the same ways, the old ways of educating in this new situation. And that's not anybody's fault. The fact is that we're being forced to adapt very quickly to the situation. And, we can't learn that quickly. It's not possible. But the problem is, it's very likely that that kind of education program will be less effective. So it's important to give some consideration to how we are implementing our education programs in this new environment. So, in the traditional learning environment, we had larger class sizes. You could have 30, 25, 30 students in a classroom, and the teacher could handle that kind of situation fairly easily. The students were all grouped together in the same space and at the same time. So that meant that they had a lot of opportunities for peer interaction. That's not the case anymore. A lot of students, nowadays, because they're learning online, that means they're learning mostly independently. They just have a small amount of interaction with their teacher and a small amount of interaction with each other, which I think a lot of students miss. They miss that interaction with the teacher and their peers. That also means that the teacher can't do as much monitoring, right? in the traditional classroom, the teacher could just look over the shoulder of the students. They could walk around the classroom and listen in on pair or group work, and they could give immediate and direct teacher guidance. Another factor that has changed is that we don't have a dedicated space anymore, and we don't have the physical resources. So it's a lot more challenging to kind of, I think there's some psychological effect to having a physical space that's dedicated to learning. You know, when the students come into the classroom, they're sort of primed and ready to learn. Whereas if they're learning from their living room or from their bedroom, that's much less likely. There's to have that sort of same psychological mind for learning. But remote learning is not all bad. You know, a lot of online learning can happen anywhere and at any time. So it's very accessible for students, especially for things like if you're giving readings or videos that they should watch, they can do that anywhere and anytime as long as they have their device and an internet connection. And also because they're doing a lot of self-learning, a lot of remote learning can be self-paced. People who need, you know, maybe they're a little bit weaker students, they can spend more time, they can watch videos 2 or 3 times to kind of absorb the information better. And they can reread things, they can read at their own pace. Whereas in the classroom, it's more sort of class-paced. They have to keep up with the rest of the students. So some students struggle with that. Of course, the cons, like we've already talked about, there's much less social interaction, much less student-teacher interaction as well. And there's that lack of dedicated space. So a lot of teachers, a lot of students, you know, may struggle with having their own learning space in their house. So, you know, they may have to deal with kids wanting to share their computer or interrupting them. There's also a lot less support from the teacher and supervision in the classroom. So these are some of the drawbacks of remote learning. But, you know, we can make accommodations for them. We can accommodate those kinds of weaknesses to some extent. Some of the things that we need to think about when we're planning an online course are, there are nine factors that we need to think about. So one is the modality. The modality means what is the ratio of online to offline courses? In some places where you have opened your schools, you may be able to have at least some offline classes where the students come into the classroom once a week or twice a week, and the rest of the class is conducted online. So balancing that, you know, whether it's going to be a pure online class or whether it's going to be a blended class, that's one consideration. Another consideration is whether it's going to be self-paced, the students can set the pace of the learning themselves, or whether there is going to be a schedule that they have to follow that's going to make it more class-paced. Or it may be possible to combine those two. Some parts, like some assignments, for example, could be self-paced, whereas you have regular meetings that are more class-paced. Also, you need to think about the student-teacher ratio. I don't think many of you are in a situation where you can have a 1-to-1 ratio, but maybe you can think about, you know, for adult learners, I think the ratio can be a little higher than it can for younger learners, because they've learned how to use, you know, adult learners are more capable of, you know, managing online communication and listening when they need to listen. So maybe a ratio of something like 12-to-1 could work, for even higher, 15-to-1 could work for the student-teacher ratio with adult learners. You need also to think about the pedagogical approach that you're going to take. Is it going to be expository, where the teacher is explaining the concepts and the students are just listening and taking notes? Or is it going to be practical, like the students have to do some kind of project or you know, this kind of thing, simulations? Or is it going to be more exploratory, like the teacher poses some questions and the students do some research to find the answers themselves? Or is it going to be more collaborative? Students work together in teams. Another important consideration is the role of the instructor. In some very, in some very large classes, like on Coursera or Udemy, where they're teaching, hundreds or thousands of students at the same time, the teacher's role might be very, very small. They might be just, or they might create all the content and then they're not involved in the class. But I think for most of us that are teaching at academies or in some kind of language school, probably we are expected to be very active or have some kind of instructional role. Also, we need to think about how the students are going to interact. Are they going to be studying independently on their own, or are we going to have some kinds of activities where they're working with their peers? Are they going to have collaborative type activities? So, for adult learners, I think collaboration is very possible, very important. And I think you can set up teams for projects, and it's completely feasible. So more collaborative learning is possible for adult learners. We can also think about the kind of communication that we have in the class. So is it, this is what we call communication synchrony. Is it synchronous communication where we're having like, video, real-time video interaction like we are now? Or is it going to be asynchronous with like pre-recorded lectures or email messages, this kind of thing, where it's not in real time? Or is it going to be some mix of the two? This is something we need to think about. And the last things we need to think about are the type of feedback, whether it's going to be automated, like they're filling out some forms and it's getting automatically graded, or is the teacher going to be doing the grading, or are the students going to be grading each other? Is there going to be some peer feedback? And then also, how are the assessments going to be used? Is it going to be to adapt the instruction, or is it going to be to assess whether the students are ready to progress to the next level? So these are the 9 considerations that we need to think about for online learning: the modality, the pacing, the ratio of student to teacher, the type of pedagogy that we use, the role of the instructor, the role of the students, the kind of communication that we're using, and the role and type of feedback that we're using. When the Korean government issued the guidelines for online education, we actually had quite an early lead in the COVID, dealing with the COVID crisis. And so the situation kind of peaked in February, and our school year starts in March. So the government had to make some very quick decisions about how to deal with the situation. And actually they delayed the start of school, the school year, by quite a few weeks. And in that time, they sort of prepared some guidelines for teachers about how to conduct online lessons. And part of that was this flow, this learning flow, which I think is very simple. And it's online learning can be very complex, and there's a lot of things to think about. But breaking it down into these 3 class types and this kind of learning flow is very effective, I think. So I just wanted to talk about these 3 types of classes very quickly. So these are intended to be sort of used in sequence. So it would start with a content-oriented class. Content-oriented class means that students are watching or reading some kind of content. It could be a recorded lecture, maybe an excerpt from an audiobook, or they could be reading something like a website or a PDF that you send them. And that could be done in the lecture type, where they're just doing it on their own, or in the lecture activity type, where they're doing it and then there's some kind of activity that's involved. Maybe they're communicating with the teacher about it, or they're discussing it with their classmates. So content-oriented class first, and that's followed by a real-time interactive class. So this is where you would have like a Zoom meeting or a Google Meet online meeting. And that's an opportunity for the teacher to check whether the students have understood the concepts, and also for the students to apply the concepts as well. So let's say they learn some vocabulary and some grammatical structures in the content-oriented class. Then in the real-time interactive class, the teacher could just check their understanding and get them to use those vocabulary and use those structures for doing something. So it's more sort of instantaneous communication, and it involves more concept checking. That could be followed by a task-oriented class where the teacher gives some kind of task to the students for them to, for example, do an activity or do maybe a writing activity, a writing assignment, and hand it in to be graded. So this is sort of the learning flow that the Korean Ministry of Education recommended, and I think it's very, very effective. Just a moment. I wanted to wrap up this part of the presentation with just some tips and tricks for teaching online. So the first one is, when we are thinking about these changes that are happening, a lot of us are worried about how we are going to adjust, but we also need to think about our students and how their situation has been changed. A lot of students that were relying on their language classes, suddenly those have been totally changed, and I think it has made a lot of students feel sort of like lost. So we need to help our students maintain a sense of order and also a sense of connection with each other and also with their teacher. So one way of doing that is by setting up very kind of strong routines and rules and a very fixed schedule for class, and also by prioritizing communication with all the students. Maybe having a 1 hour class twice a week is not enough communication. Maybe you need to also have office hours where you have a Skype room or a Zoom room that's open and students can just drop in and meet with you. So you can give them kind of a forum and time to connect with you and with each other. I think that's very important. I think it's also important to keep things simple. A lot of our adult learners, for them, dealing with this sort of radical change can be overwhelming. So if we're going to introduce new procedures and routines, we should do that kind of gradually and give them time to adjust to changes. Also, instead of using the same kind of curriculum that we've been using for offline class, we should reduce the number of learning objectives per class. I think that's kind of important to slow the pacing down and allow more time for review. So we need to keep things simple, but also, if we're doing the same thing over and over again, of course our students are going to get bored with that. So it's important to experiment a little bit, introduce new tools, new ways of teaching, but do it kind of gradually and try, new resources and new ways of working. I think it's good for you as a teacher, so you don't get overwhelmed with or bored with your teaching. And it's also important to keep things fresh for the students. And for online teaching, it's important to have like a high level of energy, be more animated than you would be in the classroom. So that kind of helps the students to keep their attention and also keeps people from falling asleep. Just a few activity ideas that you could try with your classes. So one is to help students, do sort of polls or surveys with each other. You can use Google Forms. It's very easy to use, and they can create questionnaires for each other, and they can, send the Google Forms. All they do is they copy a link and send it out to their classmates, and then they can share the results with the class as part of their presentation. Also, not all communication needs to be synchronous between classmates. You could have students record audio or video messages with their mobile device and then send them to each other in order to communicate. And one interesting thing that I've tried in my classes is doing collaborative writing and collaborative brainstorming. And you can do that with Google Docs. So these are things that, the online environment can be used for that are possible within the online environment that are not possible within the traditional classroom. So that's a little bit about online education. I wanted to turn our attention now to talking about digital learning solutions from Compass Publishing, and I'm going to talk about two. I'll talk about ClassBox, and then we'll have a question and answer session, and then I'll talk about BigBox. So we actually have a wide range of tools, solutions that we've been offering for our clients in the Korean market. They include online teaching tools through our SantaClass platform. Then we also have our paper books and ebooks that we're still publishing and distributing paper books. Those are still used with students, even though they're learning online. They can be using their paper books to do questions and things like that to study with. Some students prefer that. But we also have individualized online learning application called BigBox. So combining all of these elements, we're able to offer our clients some online tools and contents that they use with Zoom or Google Meet or Microsoft Teams to do online teaching. So these are the solutions that we're going to be talking about today. So ClassBox is our global version of SantaClass. And it's an easy to use teaching platform for ELT. It's specifically made for ELT. And it can be used in the classroom for like presentation of, if you have a projector or an interactive whiteboard, you can use it on that to present in the real traditional classroom, or you can use it for online teaching by doing screen sharing. And it basically has two important elements. One is a library of digital books, and the other one is an LMS, an easy-to-use LMS. So the digital books library has a library of over 100 courses from kindergarten to adult level, and it's made up of over 1,000 digital streaming textbooks, and you can search for those by the level, CEFR level. And each of them include embedded media, an answer key, and annotation tools. And I'm going to show you, I'll demonstrate those in a minute. You also have access through the digital books to over 10,000 downloadable supplementary resources for both teachers and students. And those include things like lesson plans, worksheets, activity sheets, extra activities, flashcards, tests. So you can use all of those online and offline contents to create your learning solution for your students. So as I mentioned, the digital library can be searched by skill. So you can search by speaking or listening or vocab or grammar, or you can search by level as well. So either by CEFR level, like A1, A2, B1, B2, or by the grade level of the students for primary, secondary, high school, university. So as I mentioned, there's streaming ebooks with easy markup tools, and I'm going to demonstrate those in a moment. There's also this is also functioning as a centralized location for all of the downloadable materials. So you can download the music, the MP3 files, the answer keys, all kinds of tests, worksheets, the teacher's guide, all kinds of materials to help you teach the material. So that's the digital library. We also have an LMS. So this is meant to help you manage your classes. So you can set up classes, you can add students, delete students, move students around. You can also assign homework. And after they've done their homework, you can view reports on their performance. So it's actually integrated with the Big Box Learning application, which is the other solution that I'm going to talk about today. And the way that we've done that is with a class code. So teachers can create a class on the LMS, and then they can share the class code. There's a little 6-digit class code that they can send out to the students, and students enter that in the Big Box application, and that's going to create a link between your student's application and your LMS. So after that link is established, you can assign homework to the students, and it is going to appear in their app. They're going to see a notification in their application. So after they do their homework, then you can track. You're going to get reports on their performance and their participation. So this is what the LMS looks like. We've kept it quite simple. A lot of LMSs have many functions, but sometimes that can be overwhelming for students, for teachers that are not familiar with using an LMS. So we've kept ours to the very essentials. I'm going to demonstrate that in a moment. So you can assign homework by clicking on the class. Then you can enter the report section. You can click on the book. It's going to give you this kind of pop-up where you can choose the book that you want to assign for homework. So for example, if I chose Blueprint, then I can choose the unit, and I can click Done. Then I can name the homework so it shows up in my LMS, and I can click Save. Then the students are going to get a homework notification. So when they check their homework icon in the app, they're going to see this kind of notification. So they can see, oh, the teacher has assigned me Blueprint 3, Lesson 5, so about part-time job, and they can do their homework within this. Then they're going to have a set of different activities. I'm going to show that to you when I show you about the Big Box application. So when they do their activities, for example, the word flash activities, after they finish, there's going to be a score. So it's sort of gamified. They get points. And when they click on complete, that's going to automatically update in the LMS. And so the teacher can go to the report section of the LMS, and they can see the student's homework. So if they click on that homework assignment, they can actually see that this student, Karen, has done the word flash. So it updates in real time. So the students, as the students are doing their homework, you can see what they're doing. So I can see here that my student, Karen, spent 64 seconds doing the word flash for the homework that I assigned. So this tool, the purpose of this tool, this LMS and this digital ebooks library, is to make remote teaching very easy. So it pairs with any video conferencing platform that allows screen sharing. So you can use it with Google Meet or Zoom like we're doing now, or Google Teams, whatever you're familiar with, you can use it as long as you can do screen sharing. So I prepared this kind of video for you to show you a kind of walkthrough of the ClassBox. So like I mentioned, you can search by skill, or by level, CEFR level, or by grade level. So once you find, you can also search by the name of the book. And once you find a book that you like, you can click the little heart icon in the top right-hand corner, and that's going to show up in your bookshelf. So you can see I saved Blueprint here. Once you go into any of the books, you're going to see the UI like this. And by clicking on downloads in the left-hand column, you can see all the different resources that are available. You can download those and send them out to your students. You can also click on the MP3s and you can listen to any of the audio tracks.
Track 53.
Common area. Reception. Lobby.
You can choose any of the units. And as you can see, I've marked up this page. I've marked it up with and left some notes and links, and those persist in the book. So every time you log in, they're going to be there.
Track 49.
So, what other classes do you have?
I take biology, history, computer science, and economics. You?
Chemistry, French, philosophy, and math. So I guess we only have English together.
Seems so. Well, anyway, what do you usually do after class?
I usually just go home. I take the bus, but on Tuesdays, I go to work first. What do you do?
On Tuesdays and Thursdays, I play soccer after class. Maybe we can study on Mondays after class sometimes.
Sounds like a great idea.
So as you could see there, I was zooming in and out, and I was also playing the audio. So all the audio is embedded. And now I'm using the note tool. So if you have some teaching tips or some things that you want to remember to tell your students, you can write a note to yourself and save it. And you can put that anywhere on the page. So you could have it down at the bottom or next to the activity. So in this case, maybe I want to teach some extra vocabulary for my students, vocabulary that I think they might not know. And then I can just save that and it'll appear on the page. And as I mentioned before, next time I log in, next time I open this book to this page, it'll be there on the page for me. I can also embed links within the book. So the links they'll launch within the browser, so you can share the screen with your students as well. And the link can be put anywhere on the page as well. So once you click on that, it'll launch to the YouTube video or the web page that you have. There's also answer key built in, so you can click on the little lock icons and reveal all the answers so if you're doing an activity, and then you can zoom in like this to have students focus on particular elements in the page. And of course, there's all kinds of markup tools like a pen tool or highlighter tool. So you could use that, for example, if you want to highlight particular vocabulary to focus on in a passage. So that's a little bit about the UI for the ebooks. Let's switch over to the LMS. So in the LMS, I can view all my classes. I just click on the class UI. I can view all my classes. I can also add a new class. And if your institute is using this system, you'll have a name of the different teachers at your institute, and you can choose the teacher, the particular teacher for that class. So there you can see it appears in my list of classes. I can also add students manually. All I need to do is find their Big Box avatar number. So that's a little code that appears in their Big Box app. Sorry, I'm trying to add a student who already exists. And this LMS is going to be free. So if you buy the physical book, or if you buy the ebook, then there's no charge for the LMS. That comes along with the physical book or the ebook. So I can see the homework that I've sent to my students. And by clicking on that, I can see a report of all the students and how they've done. So I can see Karen has finished her homework, and I can see all the results for her different activities. So I can assign new homework by choosing a textbook, selecting the unit that I'm working on, and then giving it a name. So I would type the name. So then I can see a list of all the homework that I've assigned to my students in this particular class, and I can check on any of it by clicking on that individual homework. So that's just a very brief overview of ClassBox. So I showed you the digital books library and also the LMS and how it works. If you want to try it out, you can go to our website. Unfortunately, we're doing a service right now. We're servicing just regular maintenance on our website. That's going to be up and running probably later today or tonight. So I'll give you the website anyway. You can check it out either tonight or tomorrow. It's classboxenglish.com. And if you go there, you can actually sign up for a 15-day free trial. So you can try the full ebook library and the LMS and see how you like it for teaching your classes. So you can also scan the QR code. So unfortunately, you can't do that right now, but maybe you can rewatch this video and scan the QR code on your phone. So anyway, that's a very brief introduction to ClassBox. And now I'll turn it over to Ms. Ocha to run the Q&A session.
Okay, thank you, Mr. John. So, ladies and gentlemen, now is the first Q&A session. So, if you have any question, you can use the raise hand feature on the participant column. Silakan Bapak Ibu, kalau ada pertanyaan terkait paparan Mr. John tadi, bisa menggunakan fitur raise hand ya, yang ada di bagian partisipan, di bagian bawah. Silakan, apakah ada yang ingin bertanya atau mungkin menyampaikan ide maupun gagasan, ataupun mungkin sharing, silakan. I think they are shy, Mr. John.
Don't be shy.
Okay, we have
Johannes.
the first, yes. Mr. Johannes, silakan. Bisa di-unmute, sudah saya unmute ya.
Hello.
Hello. Hello,
Hi, Mr.
Hello,
Johannes.
Mr. Johannes. Please turn on your
So-
camera too.
Oh, okay.
Okay, thank you.
Is it clear here?
Okay, that's
Hi
Okay.
there.
Hello. So thank you, Mr. John, for your great presentation about Bitbox and also LMS. I would like to ask about the LMS.
Okay.
Can we put some material from our computer to this LMS? If
You mean
We can do
uploading?
yes, if we can
we-
do that.
We don't have that function yet.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So just limited to the homework from the books, right?
I mean, you could always use, for example, use email to send your homework to
Oh,
your
I see.
students, right? So the material that's on the LMS, you can you can send. Basically, it's a library of our company's content. So you can use that content, or you can email students directly
Oh, okay.
with other homework.
Yeah, okay. I get it. Thank you, Mr. John.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Yonas. And we now have the second. This is with Miss Indah Dwi. Silakan, Miss Indah.
Hello, Miss Inga.
Yes, can
Bisa
everyone
di-
hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Could you please turn on your camera, please? Miss
We want to
Indah.
see your smiling face.
Halo, Miss Indah. Masih di mute ya? Silakan bisa di unmute dulu, Miss.
Okay, hi Mr. Chair, hi Mr. John. I'm sorry I cannot turn on my camera. It's
It's
because
okay. It's okay.
of the background is not really clear at this place. So I just want to
Okay.
ask about the process of learning. You have already mentioned about the flow of learning, starting
Uh-huh.
from different types of contents, and you also mentioned about class interactive, and then at the end of the sessions you probably can give a homework. I just
Right,
wondering
task.
about the engagement, because of the students nowadays is actually still learning how sessions using this electronic system. So
Right.
probably you can share a lot of stories or probably your experience, whether they have a different kinds of engagements compared to the face-to-face class, and probably it's going to have a better insight for us. So if we have a different kinds of experience, we probably can have a better strategy. But anyway, your Dropbox and your system is quite good. So it's going to be one of the applications that we can use in the class. So thank you
Glad
so
to
much
hear
for
that.
that, Mr. Joe. Yeah.
Well, if you want me to just mention quickly about engagement, so I was talking about 2 weeks ago with some teachers from Bolivia, and they said that their main problem with teaching online, it's not about planning material and it's not about organizing their classes and things like that. They're able to do that, but the problem is their students are much less engaged with class, and when they see their students, they're slouching in their chair, or sometimes some of them are falling asleep in front of the camera. So yeah, I mean, this is a problem. I think it's partly to do with what I mentioned before. There's no physical space. So when you in traditional classroom, everybody was sitting next to each other and they're kind of watching each other. So there's some kind of social pressure to focus on the teacher, right? But when you're sitting behind the camera in your home, there isn't that social pressure. So I think part of it, I think there's kind of two solutions. One is to have very strict rules. Like if your students they should have their camera on, and you should have them, sitting up. I think with like teenagers, you can probably have these kinds of rules. Maybe for adults, it's a little harder.
Yeah.
But having these kinds of rules, like Miss Ocha is telling everybody to turn on their camera when they want to talk. I think having the same kind of thing for classes, that's important. So you can kind of monitor whether students are paying attention or not, right? The other idea is to have a lot more energy. Like the teacher's energy, I think, can affect the students. So having, like I mentioned in my tips, you need to be consciously trying to be more animated than normal. So smile more and use more gesture in class, because you sort of carry, as a teacher, you sort of carry the energy of the class. Another idea for that is to keep the the types of activities that you're running, keep them very short and a lot of variety with the types of activities, like watch videos, do readings, do some listening, do some speaking activities, have lots of different content, and that kind of keeps the pace of the class sort of more exciting, right? So those are kind of three things I would mention.
Okay, thank you so much for that. I think that's all.
How about you? Have you discovered any new?
Most of the strategy that you mentions in the PowerPoint have been applied to my class as well. I started with discussing about the topic, for example, about the number of COVID-19 cases in Indonesia, and then I'm going to ask about a few questions about that. I'm going to see about their opinions, and we're going to have sort of a discussion. And after that, we're going to move on to readings and different kinds of activities. But sometimes, if we repeat the same kinds of activities in the class from week 1 to week 3, some of the students feels like a little bit bored, or probably because of we did the same kind of things from the first week until the third week. So they know exactly about the method, they know exactly about the pattern. So they try to anticipate about the discussion. So when the discussion is already started, they will ready to have discussions. But when the discussion is already off, some of the students feels like, okay, I'm going to go to the toilet, or some of the students like do another thing. So that things that I need to be able to have another strategy for me, I think. So yeah, you got the point. I think you're right. Your point is right. I need to transfer my energy to give them a perspective that this learning should be continue, and we have to keep up with the pace. We know that something new, and we need to know that everything is going to fine. Everything is going to be fine, even though that we are not seeing each other. We're just doing something in online, but everything is going to be fine.
Yeah, it's just different. It doesn't have to be less learning, and it doesn't have to be anything inferior. It's just different.
Yeah, it's just different. Okay. So
anyway, thank you for your insight very much.
You're welcome, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Indah. Okay, Mr. John, maybe this is one more question from Mr. Harold. Silakan, Mr. Harold.
Hello, Mr. Harold.
Okay. Hello, sir.
Yes, hello.
Hi there.
Can you hear me?
I can just hear you.
Hi. Yeah. It's my first time. Okay, thank you. It's my first time. So a little explanation from the first up to now, so I can get a better picture of it. Thank you.
Okay.
About this thing, I have no idea. I just joined in. Thank you.
Oh, you want me to give a kind of summary about the first part of the presentation?
Summary. Until now, what is this all about? Is it for teaching or what?
Yeah, so no, we were talking about online teaching, especially for adults. And we went through a kind of a summary of some of the things that you need to think about for when you're planning a class and when you're running a class. And then we talked about some of the content that we have, that my company has. So we have an online teaching platform that's called ClassBox. And I was talking about the features. So the features are, there's a digital library, a bunch of ebooks that are based on our print books for learning English. Okay, so we have a big library of content. So you can use that for online teaching. And then there's also a connected LMS. And the LMS, Learning Management System, the LMS helps you to kind of track your students' learning. So you can assign homework to them, and the LMS will track their performance, so you can see how they're doing on their homework.
Oh, okay. Yeah, thank you.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, now yes. And I also want to share about this online thing, a little bit. My friend used to be a teacher in the primary school, and she went on with the Zoom, and she had her work time used to be from 8 to 3 p.m. And at the online learning, when the online learning went on, she had to work until night. because the parents pushed her to teach the children.
Yes.
So now she quits because she can't cope with it. Yeah, I heard the sharing about, distraction or anything. Yeah, that's the consequences of online learning.
Yeah, I think a lot of schools are, as I mentioned before, they're kind of trying to apply the same model of teaching to this kind of new situation. And for a teacher to teach online for 7 or 8 hours a day, I can't imagine how draining that is. That's going to take a lot of energy every day. So I think that's one of the reasons why the Korean government recommended this 3 types of classes, where you have some self-learning. The teachers can, the students can learn on their own. They can do some content-focused learning. Then you can have some interactive classes, not all the time, but some interactive classes. And then you can also apply some task-focused learning as well. So you can have these 3 types of classes. Part of the reason is to take the pressure off the teachers. They don't have to teach like the same kind of classes that they did in a traditional classroom. That's the solution that they came up with.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Harold. And Mr. John, that would be the last question for the first session. Don't worry, for the other participants, we will have another Q&A session at the end of Mr. John's presentation. And I would like to share some information. The material of this presentation will be shared through WhatsApp group and also by email. And at the end of the session, I will also share about the information about e-certificate distribution. So let's continue to Mr. John's presentation.
Sure. So we talked about ClassBox, and ClassBox is our teaching platform. So that's intended for teachers. The second sort of half of our digital solution is called BigBox. And BigBox is an English learning application. So it's for the students, it's the student side. And the way that we arranged it was so that we know that a lot of students have very different interests and very different needs and different ability, skill level. So we wanted to be able to personalize the content for each individual student. We also wanted to create a gamified language learning. What does that mean? That means, doing homework, studying vocabulary, studying grammar. For younger learners especially, this is very boring. So we wanted to create a game-like experience for learning, where they're getting points, they're able to play games, they're able to watch fun content. This is what we wanted to create. So the core, the main part of this application is content curation. That means that we have a library of content. There's over 11,000 videos and playbooks. Playbooks are readers that we've embedded the audio, and it automatically advances the pages so the students can kind of read along with the story. So we have this huge library of content. And when the student logs into the application the first time, we ask for their age and their gender, whether they're a boy or a girl. And we ask them about their interests. We have like a screen with a whole bunch of different interests, like cooking, crafts, camping, all of these different kinds of things. And they choose 3 or 4 of them. And then based on that, we can recommend some of the content in the library. So we can give them a kind of carousel, just like you would see on sort of Netflix or YouTube. They can choose the things from the things that we are recommending to them. So we have this kind of algorithm that selects from our library. And over time, as the students are watching the videos, they are also rating them. They rate them for their interest, and they rate them for their difficulty level. And our algorithm uses that information to fine-tune the recommendations. So over time, it gets better and better. So based on that algorithm, they're going to see in the app, they're going to see a carousel or a feed of different videos and playbooks. So things that are from YouTube or from other content providers or things that we've made as well. And they can save those as their liked content, or they can watch it. And after they've watched it, they're going to be recommended some words. So what we've done is we've taken the transcript from the videos and the content from the playbooks, and we've gone through it and we've leveled all of the vocabulary. And we give the words that are at the level for the student. So we present these word cards, usually about 5 or 6 word cards for each video. And what they have to do is click on this microphone icon in the lower right-hand corner. And then they say the word and they have to pronounce it correctly. And then they get the card. So collecting these cards and kind of leveling them up is sort of the main part of the application. And they level them up by playing with them in quiz shows or different games. There's different elements within the app. We also have Reading Oceans, which is a library of about 1,000 graded ebook readers. So that's also in the Big Box application. So we use that for extensive reading. And it includes both fiction and nonfiction, and we have a wide range of different high interest topics. And they range also in the difficulty level from phonics decodable books, which are extremely easy. They have very, very easy sentence structures, very easy vocabulary, all the way up to upper intermediate level. So upper intermediate level would be suitable for sort of grade 6, grade 7, grade 8, that kind of reading level. And all of the readers have embedded audio and activities. So the activities focus on the vocabulary, on key expressions from the text, and also on the content, so they can check their comprehension. The other part of the Big Box application is Class Booster. It's called Class Booster. And that's actually, I talked to you before about how ClassBox and Big Box are linked. So this is where that happens. This is the place where they would find the e-learning activities for our course books and skill books. So this is where they would do their assignments. So these can be used for flipped learning. That means, you would assign homework before class for them to see the vocabulary and see the important structures and the content before class. And then when they come to class, they're all ready for more sort of communicative activities. Or you could do it for review, for homework. So when you assign homework, the students are going to get a quest notification in their app. There's going to be like a pop-up. And after they do their homework, they're going to receive some coins and points that they can use in the game. So the way that they can kind of activate Class Booster, even if you're not using the LMS, you can still your students can still use ClassBox, can still use Big Box with their the books that they're using. The way they would do that is click on Add Books, and then they would add this code that's on the inside of all of our physical books. So it can be used with the physical books as well. Or you can add the books separately and use it with the LMS. So each unit of every book has a collection of different kinds of activities. So for the lower levels, there's usually 4 or 5 different types of activities. And for the higher levels, there's usually 6 or 7 different kinds of activities. So this series called Blueprint is actually a university level book. So it has 7 activities. And I'll just show you what they look like. So there's Word Flash. This is where students can kind of be exposed to the new vocabulary. So there's a word, there's an image. If they click on the word, they can see an image that sort of illustrates the meaning of the word. There's audio, and there's also voice recognition, so students can practice their pronunciation of the word. They just click on this microphone icon in the lower right-hand corner, and then they can practice their pronunciation. After they've learned the words, they can sort of test themselves on how well they remember them by doing this word match activity, where they quickly have to match the key words in the images. And the faster they do it, the more points they get. So there's some kind of time pressure to do it quickly. There's also some quiz questions, which are multiple choice questions that test concepts from the unit or important learning points. So this is also used for kind of review after the class or for previewing content. There's an unscramble activity that focuses on structure. So we've extracted some key sentences from the passages, and students can either click and drag and drop them, or they can use voice recognition. So they can actually say the sentence to trigger the words. Then there's a summary activity, and that summarizes the main passage in the unit, and it gets the students to see the key words in a different context. Then there's an audio activity where they listen and repeat some key structures from the passage. And for all of those activities, they're going to get some points. So the points can be used in the game for different purposes. And all of their activities on Big Box are reported to that ClassBox LMS, so the teacher can see whether they're doing their homework and how they're doing. And the teacher can use that information to, if you need to focus on a particular unit or a lot of students are struggling with particular vocabulary, the teacher can use that information to inform their teaching. So this is what the UI looks like. If students click on homework, they're going to see, if they click on Class Booster, they're going to see the library of different units that they can use, that they can go into. So if they click on a particular unit, they're going to see all the different activities for that unit.
Basketball.
So this is the word flash activity.
Basketball. Excellent. Excellent. Show up. Show up. Left. Left. Score. Score. Second. Second. Behind. Behind.
Then I get some points. This is the word match activity where students have to check whether they have understood the vocabulary.
Behind. Excellent. Left.
Hopefully I'm going to do
Basketball.
fairly well.
Show up. Score. Second.
This is the quiz activity. So this focuses on, in this unit, it's on grammatical structure. So it's with expressions that use two infinitives after them.
Hey, Ben. You weren't in class yesterday. Were you sick?
No, I'm fine. I went to cheer for my brother Ethan's college basketball team. It was such an excellent game.
Oh, yeah? What happened?
They were behind by 1 point, and there were 5 seconds left. Then Ethan got the ball and scored. It was incredible.
Wow. So I guess your brother's a good player.
The best on the team, and it's a good...
So in the higher levels, there's also some extra audio questions in the quiz. This is the unscramble activity, so you can use just drag and drop, or you can actually say like, be sure to go to one of the events, and the student can actually use the voice recognition to trigger the unscramble. This is the summary activity. So this is a short summary of the content from the unit and some of the keywords, and they have to fill in the blanks with the words.
Hey, Ben. You weren't in class
This is the
yesterday.
audio
Were
activity
you
where
sick?
they're listening to individual sentences. I think I tried to say it and it didn't work.
No, I'm fine. I went to cheer for my brother Ethan's college basketball team. No, I'm fine. I went to... It was such an excellent game.
So that gives you some idea of what the UI is like. So if you want to try the app, you can actually scan the QR code that you see on your screen, and that's going to take you to either the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store, and you can download it directly that way, or you can go to those app stores on your own and just search for Big Box, and it's going to come up in the search results. So that's a little bit about our digital products, and I wanted to turn to talking about one of our books. This is called Blueprint, and it's an ELT course book for university and adult learners. So it's a 7-level series, and as you can see, the covers are all about traveling and going to different places. So it's all sort of the theme of the book is about using English to sort of expand your experience, the range of your experience. It features include that it's designed to address the specific needs and interests of university and adult learners. So it's all about the things that they do in their lives and the things that are of interest to them particularly. It's based on the CEFR. So what we did was we took the CEFR descriptions of each level and we used those as the foundation for building the product. So you can be sure that students, when they study A1 level, they're learning all of the things that are related to A1 level. So it's very closely aligned with CEFR. It's got a balance of communicative practice, language-focused learning. So they're doing lots of communication. They're also learning grammatical structures and vocabulary, and also fluency building. So building their speed and their familiarity with the language. It includes task-based and linked skills activities so that students can apply and practice their new language skills. And there's lots and lots of review units to help students to consolidate their learning and maintain steady progress. Just in terms of the leveling, so it goes all the way from A1 level, so quite easy, basic level in book 1, all the way up to C1 level in book 7. So we're expecting students at that level to be almost native speakers. They're just sort of expanding their academic vocabulary and making their English more natural sounding. Each book is made up of 40 lessons, and those are grouped into thematic modules. There's 4 modules in the lower levels and 8 modules in the higher levels. And every module has its own review and fluency page, that's 2 pages, and each unit has its own module review as well. There's a student book and a full color workbook and also a teacher's guide that's available for free download from our website, compasspub.com. We have different variants as well, so we have different variations of the product. There's an American English version. We've just come out with a British English version as well. So, you know, if students want to prepare to go to the UK or Australia, they can study with this. We also have a split edition. So like I mentioned, the full edition has 40 lessons. The split edition has 20 lessons in each book. So if you have a different kind of structure in your language academy, maybe this is the better option for you. Just go through a very quick unit walkthrough. So each module starts with this kind of large picture. So there's this colorful picture to kind of generate conversation and help lead into the topic. You can talk about, you know, what the students see, and then that can lead into the topic. You know, what kinds of things do you do for your health? How do you stay healthy? There's a detailed list of all the CEFR competencies for that module, so students can see what they're going to be learning and what the kind of expectations are for the module. The way that we've previewed the module is to get students to do kind of a scavenger hunt activity. So we get them to preview the activity by looking for specific things. So they see questions like, on which page do you see medication? Then they preview the activity in order to, for the content from the unit in order to find that. There's also some discussion questions and a writing task that lead into the unit and personalize the topic for the learners. This is very important for giving them, you know, a sense of intrinsic motivation, why they need to learn this, why it's important to them. Also on this first page, we've linked, with QR codes, we've linked some videos that can give them a sort of context for the language. So I'll just show you what those look like. They're very well done, I think. I'll just give you a little kind of preview.
Hey guys, grab some chairs and join us.
Yeah, welcome back, Lucas.
Thanks. It's good to be back. Did you two have a good summer?
Not as good as yours. We've seen all the photos of England you posted online. They were amazing.
Yeah, I think England is the most beautiful place I've ever seen.
So do I. I totally fell in love with London when I visited. All those historic places like Buckingham Castle and Big Ben, and the London nightlife is awesome.
Yeah, a little too awesome. It was hard to stay in and study in the...
Oops, sorry. Just give me one moment. I have to switch something off on my computer. Just one moment. Okay, sorry about that. Can everybody see my screen okay?
Yes, already.
Okay. So as you can see, those videos are a nice way to kind of lead into the topic. So you can watch those and talk about what was happening, and maybe you can pull out some of the language to focus on. And all of the videos follow the same characters, so it's kind of like a little soap opera for the students to watch. And some of them are very funny as well. So this is a 2-page spread of the lesson. This is what a typical lesson looks like, and each module has 5 of these. So there's a series of 5 that are all linked to the same theme. So the module starts with either a conversation or a reading or a dialogue. And this serves as a model for the language and also to contextualize the vocabulary and the structures that are covered in the lesson. After they have seen the reading or the dialogue, they move on to vocabulary exposure. So we've chosen vocabulary that's very high frequency and high utility, very useful language. So, and it's been very carefully leveled so students won't struggle with any of the difficulty. Then there's some simple activities that expose the vocabulary items and get students to practice them to express their own ideas or talk about their own experience. So that's a way that they can kind of personalize the language. As I mentioned before, there's communication activities, but there's also language-focused learning. And language-focused learning section introduces a clear grammatical point or a set of functional expressions that's related to the theme of the module. Then they're given a kind of a restricted use activity. First, they practice it in this kind of restricted use activity to make sure that they get familiar with it before they have to use it in a more authentic communicative activity. Then each lesson concludes with a more communicative activity that gives students more realistic and personalized practice with their new language. So there's 5 lessons like that, 5 2-page lessons. And then each module finishes with an active review and a fluency page. So the active review shows them the same kind of language that they've covered, but in a new context. So we used lots of different kinds of formats to include, we've included lots of different formats so that students can get familiar with the conventions of emails or text messages or these kinds of things. They can get used to seeing the English conventions. Then there's comprehension, and then they can practice writing their own passage as well. Then there's a self-check, learning self-check at the end of the unit so that the students can see their progress as they're learning. The fluency section starts with it has different elements within it. It has a prepare section. So this gives them a chance to review what they've learned and apply it in a new, more realistic context. So in this case, they've learned all about different sports, talking about routines, and then they're going to talk about different people's health routines, how they do sports or go to the gym, things like this. The fluency activities usually involve different language skills that are linked together so that learners can practice using the new language in different modalities. In the workbook, there's there's 1 page of additional activities in the workbook for each 2-page lesson. So again, those show the students the new language in a new context. For this series, there's lots and lots of supplemental materials. There's the answer keys, there's the unit videos where you can download them on your computer or you can show them on YouTube if you have a live internet connection. And then there's lots of different assessment tools like vocabulary tests, unit tests, midterm exams, and final exams for each book. And as with all of our Compass books, there's digital materials that come with the series. So you can use ClassBox. All of the the Blueprint series is on ClassBox. So you can use this for online teaching. And you can also link it with BigBox for your students. So all the Blueprint series has Class Booster material on BigBox. So if you want to see more information about our Blueprint series, you can go to compasspub.com. Again, our homepage is under maintenance right now, but it'll be open tonight. So if you want to see see sample units or see more information about Blueprint, you can go to compasspub.com either tonight or tomorrow and easily see that information. So with that, I'll turn it over to Ms. Ocha for the second. Oh, I'm sorry. I have a few more things to talk about.
Okay, please do.
Sorry about that. I have 3 other series that I wanted to mention just quickly. These are also for university and adult learners. So we have a Time to Talk series, which is a 7-level communication-focused ELT course for university and adult students. Again, it's very closely tied with the CEFR. So each unit has learning aims that are based on the CEFR competencies. It has balanced instruction in reading, writing, listening, and speaking. And just like with Blueprint, it has a balance of communicative activities with grammar and vocabulary instructions. Each of the 7 levels has 20 lessons per level, and it ranges from pre-A1 level all the way up to B2 level. So it's a little bit easier than Blueprint. We also have Interact, which is a 4-level university course book for university or adult learners. It has grammar and functional expression curriculum, so it's based on structures and functions. It has very clear language focus with grammar instruction and vocabulary building in every unit. And it's very communication focused near the end of each unit with meaningful, useful learning aims in every lesson. And each of the 4 books has 36 levels lessons per level, and it ranges from A1 to B2. And the last book I wanted to talk about is our On Point series. This is a little bit different book. This is a reading and critical thinking course book for university and adult learners. And this is a book that I was involved in producing, so I'm very proud of this book. So the way it's organized is there are pairs of authentic readings. So the students read 2 readings about the same topic, and then they talk about it and they form their own opinion on that topic. They go through a guided writing task. So they're going to write an essay about their opinion. And there's also academic vocabulary building built into the book. So they're building their academic vocabulary, they're building their reading skills, and they're building their critical thinking skills. So it's a 3-level series, and each of the books has 12 levels, 12 units per level. And it's a little bit higher level book. It's from B1 to C1 level. So those are the 3 books. So we have Blueprint, Time to Talk, Interact, or On Point. So with that, I'll turn it over to Ms. Ocha for the question and answer session.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. John. Thank you for your wonderful and also informative session about the interactive digital learning program from Compass Publishing. But before we continue to the second session, I would like to summarize or emphasize some important points from your presentation. Baik, Bapak Ibu yang kami hormati, kami sangat berharap semoga sesi siang hari ini dapat memberikan insights maupun strategi baru bagi Bapak dan Ibu, dan juga bisa menjadi jawaban tentunya untuk pengajaran bahasa Inggris jarak jauh secara interaktif bagi anak didik maupun mahasiswa Anda. Sebagaimana dengan kisah yang telah dibagikan oleh Mr. John, yaitu penerapan online English program di Korea Selatan yang tadi sudah dipaparkan ya. Dan program yang telah dipresentasikan siang ini merupakan program fully digital yang terdiri dari interaktif e-book dan online practice yang mengacu pada Common European Framework of Reference, serta dilengkapi dengan beragam kegiatan dan tentunya latihan online sehingga sangat sesuai untuk menjadi materi pegangan bagi para guru maupun dosen dalam mendukung program pembelajaran jarak jauh di sekolah, di kampus, ataupun di lembaga kursus ya. Dan juga dilengkapi dengan fitur Learning Management System yang tersedia secara gratis. Bapak Ibu dapat dengan mudah terkoneksi dengan para siswa dalam memberikan tugas maupun latihan tambahan, dan Pastinya akan sangat terbantu untuk secara otomatis memonitor progres dan perkembangan setiap siswa dalam proses pembelajaran jarak jauh ini. Bapak Ibu, bagi yang tertarik menggunakan platform Learning Management System atau Interactive e-books yang telah dipresentasikan oleh Mr. John hari ini, khususnya untuk 4 pilihan program judul tadi ya, seperti Blueprint, On Point, Type to Talk, dan juga Interact, silakan menghubungi Education Consultant Mentari Group atau menghubungi nomor WhatsApp kami di 0856 9785 6420 atau sudah tertera di layar Anda sekarang ini ya Bapak Ibu, bisa menghubungi melalui email maupun melalui nomor WhatsApp kami. Silakan bisa dicatat dahulu. Baik, kini kita masuk ke sesi tanya jawab yang kedua. Silakan apabila Bapak Ibu memiliki pertanyaan, you can raise your hand through the feature. Oh, we already have one participant here, Mr. John. It's Miss Asriani Medina. Silakan, Miss Asriani.
Hi, Miss Asriani.
Halo, silakan bisa di-unmute. Baik.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi there.
Thank you for giving me a chance. All right, so it's quite interesting to follow your explanation, and I think it will be very helpful for us to give some kind of measures by using your platform. But I would like to ask whether this On Point book that you have mentioned before, this is for advanced learners, right? So are
Yes.
they applicable for IELTS students?
I'm not extremely familiar with IELTS, but certainly any test that involves more advanced reading comprehension and academic vocabulary and critical thinking skills and writing skills as well. Any test that requires those skills, On Point will be very effective for that. A lot of teachers have given me feedback that it's good for the TOEFL test as well, because in TOEFL they have to do, read academic text and they have to write essays as well. So this gives them practice in doing all of that. And it's very, very structured and there's lots of scaffolding as well.
All right. Okay. All right. So I also would like to ask from your explanation about, so actually right now I'm applying some kind of real-time interactive class using platforms such as Zoom and also Google Meet.
Okay.
But sometimes I also use task-oriented class that I assign the students. But when it comes to the speaking task or like some kind of speaking skill, I found it difficult to control their first pronunciation and also how to lead them to develop their ideas, because like in IELTS test, right? So we have to like one by one interaction, and it will take time. If in 15 minutes I have to handle one student. So if there is any suggestion for you, or is there any platform or application from your online platform to handle this problem?
Is it like they have to give an answer and you're worried about how to provide the feedback? Is that the main problem?
Yes.
So I think for this kind of, if you have a speaking task that they need to do for homework, the best way to do that is to send out the question, the question material, and then get them to send in audio recorded message, right? Like to do that, if you have a class of more than 5 students, it's not feasible to do it within the class environment. Maybe you can do some sample answers, but you couldn't easily hear from all of the students at the same time. So maybe I would combine hearing some example answers from some students in your interactive class with getting them all to hand in an audio recording to you.
All right. Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. It's clear enough. So I hope that it's going to be helpful for me. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Miss Asriani. Silakan, mungkin ada lagi yang lain, maybe the other participants. If you want to deliver your ideas and also you want to ask some questions, you can use the raise hand feature on the participant column.
I'd also be very interested in hearing your experience teaching online. I'm very curious about how you guys are doing with, teaching adults in this kind of environment.
Yes, that sharing would be great, yeah, Mr. John. So maybe if the participants here have some experience. Okay, we have here Mr. Tommy Wijaya. Silakan, Mr. Tommy.
Hello, Mr. Tommy.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Thank you for the opportunity. And actually, I want to talk about how do you bring up, how do you transfer your enthusiasm into the class? Because from what I experienced when I was teaching like offline class, like meaning face to face, it was really difficult, to get along with the students, right? Because we can maybe make some little jokes, when they are doing their assignments, we can have a little bit of we can have a little chat with them. But when we experience online teaching, it was different. You know what I mean?
Sure.
The experience is really different. It's like you are really the focus of the class. Everyone is paying attention to you, but we can't really transfer the enthusiasm. Actually, I kind of have difficulties in this. I don't know how I say it, but this is basically my main problem right now.
I think how many students are you teaching in one class?
No, it's not a big class. It's at most 6 students.
6 students, okay. I think, giving I would suggest 2 things. One is the same thing that I said to the other teacher in the last Q&A session, just to have lots of different types of activities. Like you could have, for example, you could play videos and talk about them, or show them pictures and talk about them, or get them to do some reading together and talk about the reading. I think having lots of variety and having, it keeps the class moving. It keeps the class more dynamic. If you have just 1 activity or 2 activities for a whole 1 hour, it's gonna be very, less exciting for the students. So that's one tip I would give you, is to plan shorter activities and have lots of variety. Use multimedia. That's gonna be more engaging for them. How old are your students?
Well, most of them are high school students. So basically 17, but sometimes there are also adult students maybe 25, 24, 20.
Yeah, teenage students are difficult at the best of times, as you know.
Yeah, that's true. That's why actually, yeah, that's kind of the main problem. Even though I try to mix the activities. I try to think of different activities, but still the enthusiasm, the experience is still different. I can't really replicate the experience of offline class into online class.
Oh, I think if you're trying to replicate offline class in an online environment, it's bound to fail. Just like I talked about at the beginning of the presentation, it's like putting the square peg in the round hole. It's a different environment, and there are things that you can do online that you can't do offline. So I don't think it's all bad. It's just different, So, for example, I bet students have never used Google Docs to do collaborative writing together. And, introducing something new like that could be just the kind of new experience that can enliven your students, or get them to create Google Forms. Do you know Google Forms?
Yeah.
Yeah, so get them to make their own questions, send it out to their classmates, then they get the results back, and then get them to talk about the results. That's another kind of activity that they could try. So I think using the media that are available to you, that's one of the ways of keeping things interesting for students.
Okay, I see.
Anyway,
I think that's all for the main problem, because for technical things like the platforms and everything, I think it went well. It's just that the enthusiasm is the problem here. See. No, I think.
Why don't you try, getting them to do something silly in class, like maybe they can wear some funny hat or something like that. I think it's not a bad idea.
Parents would like that, because
Or the backgrounds, you can put funny backgrounds in your if you're using Zoom.
Yeah,
so I think just to make the class kind of interesting, something a little bit different and a little bit lively in class.
Okay. I didn't think of that. Thank you, John. Yeah.
I'm sorry I don't have all the answers, but hopefully some suggestions that you can try.
I know. It's just at least by sharing like this, you can get like some advices, they can be useful. We can try it. Yeah. So
sure.
I think this platform is really useful to share experience in teaching. Okay, that's all. Thank you, John.
You're very welcome. Good luck with your teaching.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tommy. And now we have Mr. Jorus Ruku. Silakan.
Hello.
Bisa di-unmute dulu, sir?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Yes.
Yes.
Hi, Mr. Jorus.
I'm so sorry. I have to change my devices for listening to this, so I lost some point. And what I'm going to ask is just about the LMS tools and the Big Box application. Mr. John said, and one answered me, said that it goes together with the books, but Ms. Ocha said it is free. So which one is correct? Do we have to pay for that, or it goes with the books, or it is free for everyone? Thank you.
It is free if you buy the books. It comes with the books.
Okay.
So whether you buy the ebook or the physical book, the printed book, it's included.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Jorus. Okay, so any other participant who would like to ask question or share about the experience? Silakan bisa menggunakan fitur raise hand ya, atau mungkin bisa melalui chat room, bisa dibantu juga. Okay, we have Miss Retno Lestari. Silakan, Miss.
Hello, Mr.
Hello.
John.
Hi
My question is that, is it possible for us to use the materials for one-to-one teaching? And how are we going to use the materials then? I'm not teaching in, I'm not a school run private lessons, so my student is only one. So is it possible for me to use the materials?
Absolutely possible. In some of our books, there are activities that require like communication with a partner, but all you would do there is you would take one of the roles as a student. So it's absolutely possible to use them one-on-one. I do one-on-one teaching as well, and I use our materials all the time.
All right then, sir. Well, thank you.
You're welcome. Good luck with your teaching.
Yeah, thank you, sir. You too.
Thank you, Miss Retno. And we also have Miss Okvida Yani. Silakan, Miss Okvida, bisa di-unmute dulu. Ya.
Thank you.
Hello, Miss Okvida.
And also please turn on the video, ya, Miss.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying to search the raise hand feature, but I cannot find it. Sorry. So I asked Miss Ocha from the chat. Like this, Mr. John. Nice to meet you and nice to have in this occasion, to be in this occasion. Well, I'm teaching in a small STBA. It's a language school, like what you call it, sekolah tinggi ya in bahasa, in a small city in Bekasi. And most of my students are employees, and we have some difficulties when we conduct the teaching online so far, that some of them don't have enough data or enough quota to have the online class like that. So I have to mix between the online and just only give them the task and they do it in the by themselves like that. But I think it's not quite effective for me to teach like that. So do you have any what is that, a suggestion, or do you have any experience for us who teach in a small city and teach for students that doesn't have enough data or doesn't have enough things to support them learning online like that?
I think, you know, that model that we talked about before with the content focused lesson, and then interactive lesson, and then the task focused lesson. I think this model can kind of solve that problem, because if you send them some task to do, you could also send them like paper based. You could mail out some paper to them as well. So you could send them something to read, for example, on their own. Then maybe some activity to do some writing or answer some questions. They could take a photo and send it back to you. And then they don't have to use a lot of data for that. And then also for the task base, you know, if you want to get them to write something, write a paragraph or write a short essay about something, or, you know, record something for the task. And that having those two types of activities, those two types of classes in your learning flow sort of cuts down on how much actual teaching time you need to have with them. It doesn't mean they're learning any less. It just means it's more sort of self-guided, self-directed learning rather than teacher-guided learning.
Yeah.
And so, you know, in some ways it requires a little bit of a change in your mentality, I guess, you know, like a lot of teachers, just because of their habits that they have had for many years, they don't feel comfortable. They don't feel comfortable with student-centered learning.
Yeah.
So, you know, just experiment with it a little bit. I think most students would not have a negative opinion about it, as long as you're giving them feedback about their learning, you know, that's the important thing. So maybe you can, you know, collect their assignments or collect their, you know, if you have some tasks that you have them do, you can collect that through email or through, you know, many different ways, and just make sure that you're giving them feedback and guiding their learning experience.
Yeah, I do agree with you. I've already tried that, but maybe that's still have the mindset of the students that they need more time in classroom for teacher explain them in detail like that, and rather than they learn individually like that. I think they just not too confident when they know the knowledge by themselves. They need a teacher to be there like that. So
one other suggestion is you could use like pre-recorded lessons.
I see.
So you could give your lecture, record it, and send it, you know, post it on YouTube as a private video, and then just share the link with them. That's another option.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much for your
You're very
suggestion. We'll do that.
Good luck with your teaching.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. John.
Thank you, Miss Optida. And now we have from Miss Mulyani. Silakan, Miss Mulyani.
Halo.
Silakan di-unmute dulu ya, Miss. Oke. Silakan, Miss.
Hi, Miss Mulyani.
Hello, Miss.
I can't hear you.
Hello, Miss Mulyani. We cannot hear anything from here. Okay, maybe for the meantime, we are going to the next participant first. It's from Mr. Lubis. Do you remember Mr. Lubis, Mr. John?
Yes.
He joined to the last webinar too. Please, Mr. Lubis, you can unmute your microphone too.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Ocha, and hello, Pa Edwards.
Hi there.
Again, I'm very glad to see you.
Welcome back.
How are you?
Quite good. How about yourself?
Yeah, Pa Edwards. Okay. Pa Edwards, I have 2 questions for you, Pa, and hopefully it's brightening my mindset in my teaching. So the first question is, which style would you prefer? Teaching with many pictures or motion pictures in some slides, or teaching with many words or sentences in some slides? Which one would you prefer? I mean, you can use that way to interact with your students, of course. So we can have like very what do you call that, light, what do you call, amazing class and interesting class, of course. And the second question is, are you bringing Asta, what do you call, are you bringing Asta product, or, okay, can I say something? I mean, another one is Cambridge product, or what? What's the other product?
Compass.
Asta, Cambridge, or okay,
Compass.
anything else? That's my. Oh, Compass. Oh, sorry.
Do you mean
Compass
on our
Publishing? All right. Oh, okay.
on our learning
And
platform?
Compass Publishing. Yeah.
Okay. Just for your first question, I don't think it's either or situation. Of course, you can use both. You know, it depends what you're focusing on. If you want them to be more descriptive, describing things, or interacting that way, then lots of pictures are better. I think also pictures are good for teaching vocabulary as well, especially for younger learners. Sometimes if you have a word and then a definition next to the definition, it's useless because they can't understand the definition. But having a word and a picture in a definition, that's going to be much more useful for younger learners or lower level learners. So yeah, I think it really depends on the level of your learner and also your learning goal. What do you want them to get out of this experience, the learning experience? So it's not either or. And for your second question, our platform is right now only for Compass materials. So we only have our books on the platform.
Compass Publishing. Okay.
Does that answer your
but
question?
You're also taking the same what do you call that, leveling? Yes, correct. CEFR. You're still using your CEFR, right?
Right. CEFR is kind of the global standard these days for leveling. So I think almost all publishers, maybe all publishers are using that now.
Yeah.
That was sort of the concept of CEFR, that it would be a universal measure for language ability. How are you doing? How are you doing with your teaching online?
Well, yeah, for me, CEFR is very common. Oh yeah, so far I've been teaching online with somebody who lives in somewhere in Pekanbaru, Riau. You know that location in Indonesia. And I also have another one.
So is it going well? Is your online teaching going well? Sorry, we lost the feed, I think.
I think his signal is not stable.
Yeah.
We lost him. Hello, Mr. Lubis? Okay, unfortunately, we couldn't connect with Mr. Lubis again. Oh, he's already here. Hello, Mr. Lubis? Hello? I already unmute you. Yeah, I think the connection is unstable, unfortunately.
That's okay.
Mhm. And here we actually have from Miss Mulyani. So she got a technical issue with the microphone. So she writes the question here. The question is how to create an effective virtual test for vocabulary skill for senior high school students, as I will conduct a study in a virtual learning.
Did she say a test or a task?
Test, exam.
A test.
For vocabulary skill, focusing on that.
I think actually assessments are quite a challenging thing for online learning, because if you send them, for example, an interactive form or something for them to do online, the danger is always that they will cheat. You know, you can't be sure that they will do it honestly. So for assessments, what I have recommended is to actually make a physical page and administer the tests with the camera on. So have all your students in a interactive class like we are now. Turn the video camera on and get them to do their test on a physical paper, and then have them take a photo of the paper or send it to you by mail or by, you know, in some other way. I think this is the best way to ensure that they're not going to cheat. If you are a more trusting person than me, you can use things like Google Forms is a great tool for giving assessments. I think this is one of the best options.
Okay, thank you, Mr. John, for the answer. And now we have again from Miss Indah. Hello, Miss Indah.
Yeah. Hi. Okay, I just want to give a quick opinions about the concept of gamified learning, and you have already mentioned about that in a big book. That one of the good concept, and I think I will try to apply it in my class, because of we have difficulties in introducing some vocabularies, especially the advanced one. And I know that most of them are techno savvy. They know exactly how to find the vocabulary, but I don't think that they can understand very well about the meaning of the vocabulary. So I think the gamification concept is quite good for applying in class. But I'm just wondering about yes, the assessment, same like Miss Mulyani before, how to handle with the assessment, whether they are really understanding about the concept without just relying on the Google Translate or any kinds of what do you call it, the search engine things. So
Right.
I think that's
Yeah, as I mentioned with Miss Mulyani, you know, the best way to ensure that they are not cheating is to have them do the test in front of the camera. So make sure that all of the students in the class have the camera on, and then they're doing their test. Then you can kind of watch them, and it's sort of like, you know, while the teacher's watching them, they're much less likely to cheat and to do these things, right? So it's actually the same kind of strategy that that Google uses. Google has a certification program and they have a test that they administer to get your certificate. And that's exactly what they do. They have people do the test in front of the video camera so that they can see whether people are cheating. So that I would recommend the same thing, especially if it's a serious test like a final or midterm test. Maybe for the quizzes you can do something a little bit different, like just do a Google form or something like that. But for some serious tests, you probably want to have video surveillance. Does that answer your question?
Hello, Miss Indah? Oh, I think
she muted herself, yes.
I need to unmute her first. Hello, Miss Indah?
Okay, yes, thank you so much, Miss Hi, yeah, I think that's clear enough. Thank you so much for that, for the response, Mr. John and Miss Ocha. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, so is there any other participant who would like to ask or to share? Okay, I think, Mr. John, that would be the last participant to ask question, but don't worry, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any question, you can also deliver your question or idea to the written email and WhatsApp number on the screen. It will be shared on the screen. Yes, this one. So if you have any other question regarding the LMS or the class box and the big box and also the books stated before, you can ask right away from the email written on the screen, also from the contact number or the WhatsApp number. So thank you very much, Mr. John. Hopefully by this session, the participants are enlightened and have our mind refreshed, especially for digital learning for adult learners. Thank you very much, Mr. John.
You're welcome.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to share the information about e-certificate. Please kindly spend 3 minutes to fill in our feedback online form. The link and the QR code are displayed on the screen. And this is very important. Please access the online form and make sure to fill it carefully, especially on your full name and active email address. This data will be used for your e-certificate, and you will have your certificate delivered to your email only after you submit the feedback form. Jadi silakan Bapak Ibu untuk mengisi umpan balik online yang tertera di layar dan juga akan di-share juga ya di grup WhatsApp, juga di chat room. Silahkan diisi umpan baliknya dan mohon diperhatikan mengenai penulisan nama lengkap termasuk kapitalnya, huruf kapitalnya, karena data ini akan menjadi data untuk sertifikat elektronik. Dan sertifikat Anda akan bisa diterima ketika Anda sudah submit feedback form ini. Langsung ke email Anda ya. Silahkan bisa mulai mengisi umpan balik ini. very much for your feedback, ladies and gentlemen. It will be a good contribution for us in improving our quality and also to serve you better in the future. Now, educators, let's have a photo session together. So please turn on the camera or video so we can show our happy faces and our smiles. And my colleague will help me lead the photo session. Please, Mas Ludi, kindly help us.
Oke, Bapak Ibu, boleh minta tolong untuk menyalakan videonya, Bapak Ibu? Oke, kita akan berfoto bersama ya semuanya, Bapak Ibu ya.
Berapa kali foto nih, Mas Ludi?
4 kali ya, Bapak Ibu, karena banyak sekali
baik.
peserta, jadi ada 4 grid yang akan saya foto.
Kita harus ganti pose ya, karena nggak tahu ada di grid keberapa.
Oke, sekarang yang grid pertama, pose pertama yuk, semuanya Bapak Ibu.
Pose.
Pose. 1, 2. Oke, kita lanjut ke grid kedua. Ganti gaya lagi, Bapak Ibu. 1, 2. Oke. Grid ketiga, Bapak Ibu. 1, 2. Gaya terakhir, ayo Bapak Ibu.
Bingung apa ya gayanya?
1, 2. Oke, sudah semua Kak Ocha, silakan.
Okay, thank you very much, Mas Ludi, for your help. And the photos will also be sent to the WhatsApp group ya, Bapak Ibu. And ladies and gentlemen, I would like to share some updates from Mentari Group. The first one is the PowerPoint file will be sent to the WhatsApp group and also by email. And you can also rewatch today's session, today's video on Hadiryu YouTube account. And the link will be sent to the WhatsApp group. So please kindly check later today. And the second one is about our new platforms. The first one we have Hadiryu. We provide Hadiryu site for everyone to register for Mentari Group's events, both face-to-face and live streaming. Also, through Hadiryu, you can create your own event. Kindly visit www.hadiryu.id regularly to check our event updates. Or if you want to have a partnership, please contact our team. And the second one, we also have Mau Pintar. It's an online learning platform that provides a lot of learning videos that can be accessed every day by students or even educators to have inspiration for teaching ideas. One of the current events is Mentari Tutor Online for students learning with the best of Mentari Group's tutor. And currently we have classes for maths and English subjects. Please kindly visit www.maupintar.id to access the online learning platform. Well, dear educators, it's the end of today's session. Hopefully this session can provide a lot of information and ideas for the teaching development, especially in this current condition. And on behalf of Mentari Group, we would like to thank you all and hope to see you all in the next training. Stay healthy and have a nice day.
Insan mentari, hai ini waktumu mengabdi bangsa lewat pendidikan, berangkat dari visi misi luhur. Kami datang untuk membangun negeri, berani bermimpi dan terus berkreasi, mau dan sanggup menjadi yang terbaik, cakap cepat cerdas selain itu adalah kami, berdarah terbaik itulah nafas kami, untuk Indonesia kami berkarya, bangun pendidikan, majukan bangsa.
If I move the angle B, you see here. Okay, I will stop.
Kita akan belajar matematika dengan topik luas dan juga keliling. Bantu Kak Hijri untuk mencari panjangnya berapa dan lebarnya berapa. Dengan menggunakan apa ini namanya?
Penggaris.
Ya, benar, penggaris. Oh, karena ini keliling, jadi cara mengerjakannya adalah
2 kali panjang tambah lebar.
keliling sama dengan
Baik, terima kasih banyak Bapak Ibu karena telah hadir di sesi hari ini. Sampai jumpa di pelatihan-pelatihan ataupun kegiatan pendidikan lainnya dari Mentari Group maupun Asta Ilmu Sukses. Bisa juga dicek di www.hadiryu.id ya untuk melihat kegiatan pendidikan terdekat lainnya. Terima kasih Bapak Ibu sudah bisa dan diperkenankan untuk meninggalkan ruangan ini. Terima kasih, sampai jumpa.